There are 5 statements that I regularly hear from business owners when fire and security systems are discussed. The system is too expensive. We're too small to be targeted. Alarms don't stop anybody. Once it's installed, we can forget about it. And finally, fire and security systems just cause endless false alarms. Now, on the surface, some of these concerns might sound reasonable. Businesses have budgets, nobody wants unnecessary disruption, and nobody wants to spend money on equipment that they just don't believe will provide real value. But the problem is that these 5 myths can leave businesses exposed to much greater financial and operational or legal risks. A fire or security system should not simply be viewed as equipment that's attached to the building. It is part of your business continuity. It protects your people, it protects your premises, it protects your stock, it protects your information and your ability to continue operating. So in this video, I want to challenge 5 of the most common myths surrounding commercial fire and security systems, because making decisions based on these myths could ultimately cost the business far more than putting the correct protection in place. Now, before we go through the 5 myths, there's one important principle to understand. Fire and security systems should always be based on risk, not on what someone happens to have in their van, not on the cheapest package that's available online, and not simply on what another business has installed. Every business is different. A small workshop might contain expensive machinery. A cafe could have significant fire risks from cooking equipment. An office might hold valuable customer information and computer equipment. A warehouse could contain hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of stock. A healthcare premises might have vulnerable people who require additional assistance during an emergency. The size of the building doesn't tell you the full level of risk. The right system should be designed around the people using the building, the layout of the premises, the activities being carried out, the value and the importance of the assets, the potential consequences of an incident, the relevant fire risk assessment, any insurer, regulatory or contractual requirements, how quickly the business needs somebody to respond. With that in mind, let's look at the 5 myths. Number 1, this is probably the most common objection. A business owner receives a proposal and immediately looks at the figure at the bottom of the page. They compare that figure against spending nothing, and spending nothing appears to be the cheaper option. But what is wrong with that comparison? The correct comparison is not a system versus no system. The correct comparison is the cost of the system versus the potential cost of the incident it is designed to prevent, detect, or limit. Let's take a break-in as an example. The cost is rarely limited to the items that have been stolen. You may also have damage to your doors, windows, shutters. You need replacement locks. You've got lost stock, damaged equipment, lost data, increased insurance premiums, staff unable to work, customer appointments being cancelled, management time spent dealing with the police and insurers, reputational damage, several days of reduced or completely stopped operations. And it's exactly the same with a fire. The direct fire damage may only be one part of the loss. There could also be smoke damage, water damage, electrical damage, loss of access to the premises, and a lengthy interruption to trading. A business can survive the loss of a computer. It may not survive being unable to operate for 3 months. This is why fire and security should be viewed as risk management rather than simply an installation cost. That doesn't mean every business needs the most expensive system available. A professional company should be able to identify the genuine risks, prioritise them, and propose an appropriate solution. There may be different ways of achieving the required outcome. The installation might be completed in phases. Existing equipment might be suitable for retention. The system may be designed so it can be expanded as the business grows. However, reducing the price by removing essential protection is not really a saving. It's simply accepting a greater level of risk. There's also the insurance position to consider. An insurance policy does not remove your responsibility to protect and manage your premises. Your insurer may place conditions on the protection, maintenance, or operation of fire and security systems. Failing to meet those conditions could jeopardise a future claim, depending on the policy, the circumstances surrounding the loss. So before deciding that a system is too expensive, ask a better question. What could it cost the business if we do not have the correct protection? That is the real financial comparison. Myth number 2. This is another dangerous assumption. Burglars do not necessarily look for the biggest business. They often look for the easiest opportunity. A small premises with poor lighting, weak doors, no visible alarm, no CCTV, and nobody nearby at night may be more attractive than a large, well-protected building. The business may be small, but the items inside can still be valuable. Think about a small contractor's unit containing tools and equipment. A salon with computers, payment terminals and products. A dental practice containing specialist equipment. Cafe with cash, tablets, commercial appliances. A small office containing laptops and customer information. To the owner, it is a small business. To an offender, it may look like a straightforward opportunity with little chance of being detected. Fire risk follows the same principle. Fire does not care how many people a business employs. A fire can start in a one-person workshop just as easily as it can start in a large warehouse. Electrical equipment can fail. Cooking equipment can ignite. Batteries can overheat. Combustible materials can be stored incorrectly. Hot works can introduce ignition risks. Arson can affect almost any type of premises. In fact, a serious incident can even be more damaging to a smaller company. Larger organisations might have several premises, greater cash reserves, replacement equipment and dedicated business continuity teams. Whereas a smaller business might rely entirely on one building, one set of equipment and just a handful of employees. If that single premises becomes unusable, the whole business could stop. Smaller businesses also tend to have less room in their finances for unexpected disruption. So being small is not a reason to ignore fire and security risks. It's often a reason to take them more seriously. The answer is not necessarily a huge, complicated system. The answer is a proportionate protection based on the actual risk. Your business does not have to be the most valuable target in the area. It simply has to look easier than the premises next door. Myth number 3, alarms don't actually stop anyone. No security system can guarantee that an attempted break-in will never happen. Anyone who promises that is making a guarantee. They cannot realistically give. But saying alarms don't deter offenders is simply not accurate. A widely cited study involving more than 400 convicted burglars found that around 60% would look for another target if an alarm was present. And that makes sense. Most offenders want to avoid being seen, being identified, drawing attention, triggering a response, spending longer than necessary at the premises, increasing the likelihood of being caught. A visible external sounder, CCTV cameras, security lighting and warning signs all communicate that a premises is protected. They introduce uncertainty. Is the alarm monitored? Has somebody received an alert? Are the cameras recording? Is a key holder on the way? Has a security company been notified? Could the police be contacted? The offender does not necessarily know the answer to those questions. That uncertainty is part of the deterrent. However, there is an important difference between an audible-only alarm and a professionally monitored alarm. An audible alarm relies on somebody normally nearby hearing it, recognising that something is wrong and taking action. A monitored system can send a confirmed signal to an alarm receiving centre where the appropriate response can be initiated, in line with the system design and the monitoring arrangements. Now, depending on the type of system, this could involve contacting nominated key holders, contacting a security response provider, verifying the activation, escalating the incident, requesting police attendance where the relevant requirements are met. Monitoring changes an alarm from something that simply makes a noise into part of a managed response process. That does not make audible alarms worthless, but businesses need to understand what will happen after an alarm activates, who receives the notification, who is expected to attend, how quickly can they get there, what happens if the first key holder does not answer, what happens if the activation occurs at 3 o'clock in the morning. Technology alone is not the complete solution. You also need a response plan. The purpose of a good security system is not only to detect someone once they're inside, it should help deter them before they enter, detect them as early as possible and just make it harder for them to remain undetected. Alarms can deter criminals, but they are most effective when they are properly designed, visibly installed, professionally maintained and supported by an appropriate response. Myth number 4, install it and forget it. A fire or security system is not a decorative feature. It's an operational equipment. And operational equipment requires testing, inspection, maintenance. A system can appear perfectly normal while faults are developing behind the scenes. Batteries deteriorate. Detectors become contaminated. Cameras move or become obstructed. Hard drives fail. Communication paths stop working. Door contacts become damaged. Buildings are altered. Rooms change use. New walls are installed. Furniture, shelving, or stock blocks devices. Key holders leave the company. Telephone numbers change. Wi-Fi networks and routers are replaced. None of those problems will necessarily be obvious until someone checks the systems properly. For commercial fire alarm systems, the responsible person must ensure appropriate fire safety measures are maintained and kept in effective working order. Government fire safety guidance recommends that fire alarm systems are tested weekly, normally operated by a different manual call point each week. The system should also undergo periodic inspection and servicing by a competent person, commonly at intervals not exceeding 6 months, or for systems that are covered by BS 5839 Part 1. Those weekly tests and professional service visits serve different purposes. The weekly tests confirm that the system can be activated, that the control equipment responds, and that the alarm can be heard. The professional service involves a more detailed inspection of the system, its devices, power supplies, records faults, and just the overall condition of the system. One does not replace the other, and the same basic principle applies to security systems. A CCTV camera that recorded a clear image when it was installed 5 years ago may no longer give the same view. Trees may have grown, lighting may have changed, the lens may be dirty, the date and time may be wrong. The recorder may not be retaining the required number of days. Somebody may have changed the password and failed to document it. The system may still appear to be working, but it no longer provides useful evidence. Maintenance is simply about finding broken equipment. It's about confirming that the system still does what the business needs it to do. It also creates a record. If there's an incident, you may need to demonstrate that the system was being managed, tested, and maintained responsibly. The worst time to discover that a fire alarm, camera, detector, or communication path has failed is during the emergency it was installed to deal with. Installation is the beginning of the system's working life. It is not the end of your responsibility. Myth number 5. Systems just cause endless false alarms. False alarms are a genuine problem. They disrupt businesses, they interrupt production, they cause unnecessary evacuations. They can result in people losing confidence in the system. They can also tie up emergency service resources. UK Fire and Rescue Services have estimated that unwanted fire signals and false alarms cost businesses and public services up to £1 billion each year. But that is not an argument against installing a fire alarm. It is an argument for designing, installing, and managing it correctly. False alarms can be caused by many different issues. Let's name some. The wrong detector being used for the environment, steam, dust, aerosols, poor detector positioning, contaminated devices, damaged equipment, cooking activities, contractors working without the system being managed correctly, changes to the use of a room, poor staff training, inadequate maintenance, testing without notifying the monitoring centre, faults being repeatedly reset without investigating the cause. Very dangerous one. For example, installing a standard smoke detector close to an area that regularly produces steam may create unwanted alarms. It doesn't mean the fire detection is unsuitable. It may mean that the detector type, location, or the system design needs to be reconsidered. And the same applies to intruder alarms. A poorly positioned motion detector may be affected by heat sources, moving objects, or environmental conditions. Sun creep across the floor, headlights on the ceiling. An unsecured door may repeatedly activate a contact. Staff may not understand how to set or unset the system correctly. A monitored system may have out-of-date key holder information. And these are all management and design issues. They are not proof that alarms do not work. Repeated false alarms should never simply be accepted as normal. Each activation should be recorded, investigated, and where necessary, corrected. A competent provider should look for the patterns. Does the same detector keep activating? Does it happen at a particular time? Is it linked to cleaning, cooking, or contractor activity? Has something changed in the building? Is the equipment suitable for that particular environment? A properly designed and maintained system should reduce unwanted alarms, not create endless disruption. Cheap equipment and poor installation can become extremely expensive when the operational consequences are taken into account as well. The initial quotation is only one part of the cost. Reliability, support, maintenance, and the suitability of the design matter just as much. So let's bring together the 5 myths. Myth number 1, a fire or security system is too expensive. The real comparison is not the cost of the system against spending nothing. It is the cost of appropriate protection against the potential financial and operational consequences of an incident. Myth number 2, we're too small to be a target. Criminals often look for easy opportunities, and fire risk exists regardless of the size of the business. For a smaller company, one serious incident may be enough to stop operations completely. Myth number 3, alarms don't stop anybody. No system provides an absolute guarantee, but visible, professionally installed equipment and security creates the deterrent. It increases the risk for the offender, and it can initiate a managed response. Myth number 4, install it and forget it. Fire and security systems require testing, maintenance, and ongoing management. A system that has not been checked cannot be assumed to be working correctly. And myth number 5, systems just cause false alarms. False alarms are usually a reason to investigate the design, equipment, environment, or the general management of a system. They're not a reason to leave a building unprotected. The biggest mistake businesses make is treating fire and security as products. They are simply not boxes, cameras, detectors, and control panels. They're part of a wider risk management strategy. And a good provider should not begin with asking, what equipment can we sell you? What they should be asking is, what are the risks? What are you trying to protect? What would happen if this premises could not operate tomorrow? What protection is genuinely required? And what needs to happen when the system activates? At JKE Fire and Security, our role is to help businesses answer those questions and put appropriate protection in place. That might involve reviewing an existing system, identifying gaps, improving monitoring, correcting persistent false alarms, or creating an ongoing maintenance plan. The objective is not to make a system unnecessarily complicated. It is to give the business confidence that the right protection is in place, that it is being managed correctly, and that it will be ready when it is needed. Because the true value of a fire or security system is not measured on the day it's installed. It is measured on the day something goes wrong.